Hello, today is May 3rd, and we're going to be reading our psalm for this coming Sunday, which is the fourth Sunday in Easter. Our psalm is a well-known psalm, a well-loved psalm, Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want. The Lord makes me lie down in green pastures and leads me beside still waters. You restore my soul, O Lord, and guide me along right pathways for your name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, and my cup is running over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. What is there left to say about Psalm 23? What is there left to hear about this psalm? It is, I think, one of the most popular psalms in the canon. We read it in most funerals. We read it at least 2 or 3 times every year in worship. It is one of the most easily remembered. It is one of the most memorized psalms. It appears on tombstones. It appears at baptisms. It is everywhere, and it is not going anywhere. Like it's almost as much a fixture as, say, the hymn "Amazing Grace" in our and I should say in our worship life, except that Psalm 23 is even more popular than Amazing Grace because it's not limited to North American or particular kinds of Christianity. It is ever present throughout the Christian world, and it has been popular. It has been that popular for far, far longer. In a Bible study the other day, we were reading in our Genesis Bible study that we've been walking through Genesis. One of our readings and actually this was on Easter. We were reading Jacob's dream in the wilderness. So this is Jacob's dream at Bethel, his experience of seeing something like a ladder, or more properly, a ramp in which angels are coming down and ascending back and forth from heaven to earth and back again. And Jacob's sort of extreme, the extreme notes of comfort that God will be his protector, that God will be his caretaker. And the fact that that language in the Genesis text is in direct parallel with our Psalm text that we have in front of us. And so after we read that text, we were talking about Jacob's dream and God's relationship with him. We read this Psalm 23. And in fact, when we got to it, we had it in front of us. And then we had one of our members who has been coming to that Bible study. He has Psalm 23 in his head, of course. And so as we were all looking on, he recited it word for word. And he especially recited the King James version, which is the most popular, most ever-present poetic version of Psalm 23. And he had it. He just needed, when we got to the last few lines, he just needed a couple of keywords: oil, the house of the Lord, and then he had it. He had it perfectly. Psalm 23 is a psalm that sticks with us. So why does it stick with us? What is it saying? To go back to it. What is it? Our texts this week in particular are about Jesus and God as shepherd and ourselves as sheep. The very old metaphor, much used metaphor in Scripture. And so what does it mean for us to say, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want. He makes me lie down in green pastures and leads me beside still waters. Well, it's a psalm about trust. It's a psalm about comfort. And it's a psalm of assurance that even in the valley of the shadow of death, that memorable phrase that in more modern translations is sometimes called the darkest valley, uh, which is such a flat version that very often even modern translations preserve that phrase, the valley of the shadow of death. Even though we walk through the shadow of death in our own lives, this psalm is saying we are led and we are accompanied by God. For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. And so breaking this down even more, this is a psalm that is comforting specifically for the sheep. The sheep is not being trained to be a warrior to combat the shadows. Instead, the sheep is a creature that needs protecting. It's a creature that needs green pastures, that needs still waters. Sheep are notoriously, they are entirely unwilling to cross moving water, or even they're extremely hesitant to drink from moving water. Sheep need still water. This isn't a psalm about I shall not be in want. This isn't a psalm about my wants, but it's a psalm about what I fundamentally need. And so it's a song of praise to God for knowing what it is we need and being with us when we are in genuine trouble, when we are in genuine terror of the shadow of death. Why this is a comforting psalm for the person who is facing an uncertain future. The person who is waiting is in the throes of recovery from illness, or in the course of a treatment for cancer. It's a psalm for the person who's on trial, the person who has no idea if they're going to be able to ever see outside the walls of a prison. It's for the person who is alone, who feels disconnected from others, whose uh, mental anguish, whose suffering has distanced them even from the people that they love. This is a psalm for the person who is in the valley of the shadow of death and needs to hear that God is with them, and that even the threat of death is not the end. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. This psalm ends, and that word follow, the actual Hebrew is more like pursue. Surely I will be chased down by God's goodness and God's mercy. That even if I wander, I will be chased down like the sheepdog that's chasing me back to the flock, that's leading me back to the good shepherd. This is a psalm for us in the midst of um, the threat of war, in the midst of uh, pandemics that become endemic disease, in the midst of political division and hurt in our communities, in the midst of losses in our communities. We have had losses in our community recently, deep hurts that expose even that expose currents of hurt in our schools, in the lives of our children and our and their families. And this psalm is saying, even in the course of these things, even as we face down the shadows that terrify us, God is with us, and God is leading us, God is pursuing us, in fact, with goodness and mercy. And this is a psalm that quiets the soul, even as we confront what scares, what frightens, what causes us to lose faith. It says that God, even if you are struggling, God does not abandon you, but instead pursues you with goodness and mercy and love. And so that's the gospel in Psalm 23, not just that we are in relationship with God, not just that you have some sort of distant relationship with this far off God. No, you are instead pursued by God's goodness and mercy. You are accompanied along every step of your path. And that's a word of comfort that we all need. I hope you're having a good week. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.